But what makes the act of playing but what makes the act of play specifically so compelling, and what benefits games might have to human development is an interesting challenge. One theory could be that games allow us to practice vital skills in a safe environment. Perhaps tossing the paper into a waste bucket invokes some primal state, while the accuracy of a projectile could be the difference between having good for the night or starving. However, this is not a book about evolutionary biolo- biology, biology, anthropology, or ballistics. The question of why humans invented games or first came to enjoy them is a fascinating one to be sure, but this is not our primary focus. Instead, we examine the question of what makes games fun today and how different design choices can make a game more or less enjoyable. As a matter of course, we hope to create more fun and engaging experience. In essence, we strive to build a better waste bucket. What's in the what's in a game? So ingrained ingrained in our culture is the notion of games and play that most people have an intuitive sense of what makes up a game. Formally speaking, games are often defined as a structured form of play comprising rules which dictate the actions available to players and how they are performed, boundaries which delineate the game's space from the real world, and outcomes which result from playing the game. Consider table tennis as an oversimplification. The rules of the game specific that players can hit the ball with their paddles, and the player scores if their opponent ball fails to return a volley before the ball hits the ground. Spatial, spati- spati- spat- spatial boundaries define games as occurring occurring within the hit, the ground. What? Spat, spat, spatial boundaries define games as occurring within the vicinity of the table. The outcome of a match is such that the player with the most points is declared the victor. Attempting to define games with the levels of a reader leads to some matter of a debate in terms of what should be labeled as a game as opposed to a toy or simply play. There's a lack of de- definite rules mean that children playing a game or pretend aren't really playing a game at all. It's a game like The Sims no longer considered a game per se, since no final outcome or objective is pre- prescribed. Pre- prescribed 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 no what's this to players. Well, there is certainly a place for this sort of debate. Here we assume a more colloquial definition of a term. Indeed, the principles described in this book can be applied in the design of anything that might be called a game. Whether digital or otherwise, for our purpose, we can loosely define a game as any interactive experience while participation is a goal in itself. There are two there are two key points in this understanding of what defines a game. The first is inter- interactivity, which distinguishes games from other non-interactive, bigger 1.1 my digital games blur the line between game light and toy like play left. In the same games, players have full customizations over their same virtual lives, where one player might create a living room and other might opt for the objectively superior bills showing right. A perfectly normal day in Garry's mode. Credit. The Sim 3 was developed by Maxis and published by the Electronic Arts. Garry's Mode was developed by Facepunch Studios and published by Valve Entertainment Media, such as books, movies, or television. Games are inherently participatory experiences. During play, players' actions affect the course of a game in some way. In turn, the resulting changes affect which actions are available to players and the strategy in performing those actions. The second defining quality of games is the notion of the experience itself motivating engagement. Though the completion of a game often prom- prom- promises some reward in the form of a satisfying conclusion to a story, a feeling of mastery, while playing old bragging rights. Players do not play solely for the privilege of feeling an ending scream. Instead, the goal of engaging with the game is experiencing all it has to offer. This creates a particular de- deli- deline- deli- delineation between games and productively software. Replaying a favorite game is hardly unusual, but rewriting the same paper in a word processor is a special kind of torture. Torture reserved only for the most extreme of masochists. Obviously, this understanding of games is quite broad, easily encom- encompassing examples like The Sims were imaginary games that might otherwise be subject to lexical controversy. Moving forward, this understanding is sufficient for comprehending and applying the design principles discussed. For those less familiar with the subject material who wish to learn more about the formal study of games as systems, you may refer to the reading suggested at the end of this chapter. Regardless of structural specifics, interaction lies at the core of every game. Games provide players with opportunities for interaction. They give players something to do. Likewise, interaction shapes the course of a game. Such changes might be as straightforward as incrementing a player score or as complex as acquiring characters to adapt to the death of a simulated